studios of WDBO in sunny Orlando, Florida, here's talk radio host Joe Kelly's Behind the News podcast, where Joe and his listeners and guests discuss the most important issues of the day, plus the crazy and bizarre stories of the infamous Florida man. Here's Joe Kelly.
So if you are seeing smoke right now, you're not alone, particularly if you're down by the attractions. There is a great deal of smoke and ash that is falling across the Magic Kingdom and Epcot. Get this, the smoke that you're seeing, the ash that is falling, is coming from as far away as Sumter County. In fact, it's in Sumter County. It's the Green Swamp Wilderness Preserve. It is a controlled burn. It's a pretty routine burn here in Florida to keep the ground clutter down and keep it manageable. And they'll often go out and burn the swamps areas. And invariably, we get a bunch of phone calls in our newsroom saying, hey, what's on fire? What's on fire? And 9 times out of 10, honest to goodness, we can look at the radar, the weather radar, and we're able to see where the smoke is coming from on a weather radar because it leaves a signature on the weather radar. And this is out in Sumter County, and it is coming right. It's blowing due east, and it is heading right towards the attractions. So a lot of smoke in the air tonight should make for probably a pretty nice sunset, depending on where you are. The smoke in the air does that. Might make a better sunrise in the morning. And in the morning, we might also have some smoke and fog that we're going to have to deal with. You want to tune in to Orlando's Morning News. They'll have updates for you tomorrow morning as well. But in the meantime, don't let, as Sean Hannity says, let not your heart be troubled. I think that's also in the Bible. Let not your heart be troubled, as it's not a out-of-control wildfire. It is a controlled burn of some of our swamp areas. I saw this note out of California today. You remember back in August, and I know that you do. You guys remember August, right? It was that was the month that was right after July and right before September. So in August, California passed a law to phase out gas-powered cars and trucks by the year 2035. Well, they're not done with that. They're not done there. Now, California is taking aim at the millions of lawnmowers in California. California, the world's 4th biggest economy and home to almost 40 million people, is set to ban the sale of gas-powered lawnmowers and leaf blowers within months. This is part of a state assembly bill that will phase out what they call SORs, S-O-R-E-S, that is small off-road engines. So they want to get rid of small off-road engines, and that's going to be lawnmowers, leaf blowers, other garden implements. They say, California claims, that a commercial lawnmower emits as much smog-producing pollution as a Toyota Camry does over 300 miles. So within months, they could outlaw gas-powered lawnmowers, and it doesn't say that they're going to be grandfathering anybody in. That means you have to get rid of your gas-powered lawnmower and replace it with an electric lawnmower, or replace your lawn with artificial turf, which I've got a couple of friends here in the Orlando area that are doing exactly that. My friends, the Porters, replaced their backyard lawn with artificial turf. And then where we went to church to on Sunday, went to First Presbyterian downtown on Sunday, and they announced to the congregation that they were going to be pulling up their sod and replacing it with artificial turf, which really kind of pays for itself in the long run. But what do you think about getting rid of gas-powered lawnmowers? You know, for the longest time, I had a Stihl gas-powered trimmer, and I still had problems with it. It's a great product, great quality product, the Stihl gas-powered. It was a multi-tool trimmer and edger and blower and everything else like that. And then I ended up getting the electric-powered ones, the battery-powered ones. And, man, the battery-powered ones really are quite impressive, but I have never used a battery-powered lawnmower, and I just don't know that they would have enough energy, enough torque, enough horsepower to get through some of the tall, thicker, wet grass that we sometimes experience here in Central Florida. So what do you think about banning lawnmowers and gas garden tools. 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic and the WDBO app. So I just saw this breaking news a moment ago, and this is really interesting. So a source confirms that Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is going to be traveling to East Palestine, Ohio tomorrow. Tomorrow. Now, what is the significance of tomorrow in East Palestine, Ohio? Anyone? Tomorrow is the day that Donald Trump is going to East Palestine, Ohio. So Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, has had nearly 19 days to go visit East Palestine, Ohio, as the transportation secretary. And for 18 days, he has chosen to not go. But on the one day that Donald Trump is going, Pete Buttigieg is going to show up on the same day. Now, I don't know about you. I tend to think people like Ron DeSantis can hold their own against Donald Trump. I don't have the same faith in Pete Buttigieg. I just don't think that Pete Buttigieg could hold water, frankly, for Donald Trump. But we'll have to see. But it should be interesting in East Palestine, Ohio tomorrow, as both the former president and the current Secretary of Transportation are going to be showing up there. I don't know if they're going to be at the same time in the same areas, but it is certainly going to be interesting to see that. You can join me at 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic and the WDBO app. I truly want to hear from anybody who has an electric-powered lawnmower. Are today's electric-powered lawnmowers really up to the task of mowing a big yard, of mowing maybe wet grass or something like that? I mean, I've had gas lawnmowers that couldn't get through some of the grass well enough. But if you've got electric mower or you know someone who does, you've got some experience with that, hit me up at 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app. Well, California is going to outlaw gas-powered lawnmowers, both commercial and private sector mowers. And they're going to get rid of what they call small off-road engines. So any kind of gas-powered small engines, I would imagine little go-karts and stuff like that, they're also going to be outlawed. But my question really is, sometimes it takes a big sweeping government action to institute significant change. And then sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do want it. Sometimes we don't want it. And I go back to when we got rid of the incandescent light bulbs. And remember when it was George Bush who signed the law outlawing incandescent light bulbs. And then now we all had to go out and get the LED bulbs and the rest of those other bulbs. And even though I think they have since reversed, I think when Donald Trump got into office, he reversed the ban on incandescent light bulbs. I think most people still are using the newer upgraded light bulbs that really have so many more features with different colors and brightnesses and everything else like that. I love the new smart bulbs. And so sometimes it takes the government doing something to make a big change like that. I just don't know if this is it. I don't know if gas-powered lawnmowers is the way to go. Let's talk to some people who have some gas-powered lawnmowers, I believe. Steve is joining us in Leesburg. Hey, Steve.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. So about a year ago or so, I fenced off a little section of my front yard. I got a little puppy, so I got 5 acres, and I wanted to fence off a little area, right? I'm 5 acres. I got gas, everything. Chainsaws, except my tractor, and that's diesel. So I've never really did any battery things until about half a year ago. I was like, getting my riding lawnmower into that little area was kind of a bummer. So I was up to Lowe's and I was going to get me a push mower, and they had these battery operated ones for the same price as a gas power. I was like, well, you know what? Let me try it, and I was amazingly surprised. It doesn't bog down like you would think it would.
Really?
I mean, it's a 40 volt battery. It's a hefty battery. But I'm like, well, and so right there, I use it. It's good for, I got my little area is about 70 by 70 foot area.
Yeah, you're not going to knock out the whole 5 acres, that's for sure.
No, but that little front yard I cut out, blocked out for my dog, it works. I get 2 cuts out of it.
No kidding.
Do a little extra trimming around the edge of the house and this and that. And I was really surprised. It's I think it's a Cobalt or whatever those name brand is.
Yeah.
And it was like I was really amazed. So I mean, it works great for little closed-in areas.
I appreciate I appreciate the review there, Steve. Thank you so much for that. It's good to hear that the technology has advanced some. Let's go to Jason in the APK. Hello, Jason. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You've got an electric mower too?
Yes, sir, and I love it.
Now, you obviously you obviously bought that on your own. You made that change on your own. Of course, there's a big difference between, the open market, the free market deciding if they want to buy a gas-powered motor or a battery-powered motor. But in California, they're not going to let the free market decide. The state is going to decide.
Yeah, that's garbage. Let us choose what we want to use. For convenience, I have a small yard, the electric edger, weed eater, and mower. I don't have to hassle with nothing. No pulling. You put the battery in and go.
Right. You don't have to worry about gasoline. You don't have to worry about oil changes. You don't have to worry about anything like that.
Nothing. And those finicky weed eaters, they never want to start for you.
Yeah, I know. That was my problem for a long time, is they would be good for one season, and then by the time the next season started, I could never start that damn thing back up again, so I have to go buy a new one every season. And then I finally got wise, and I bought a better brand. I bought the Steel brand, and that is a much better device. But even that, I eventually moved on to an electric one. I think it was the same brand, the Cobalt, that the last caller mentioned, that I think is the in-house brand for Home Depot or Lowe's, one of those two. I'm not sure exactly which. Let's go to DeLand. Charles is joining us here on WDBO. Hi, Charles.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I had a Honda mower for the longest time, but I was in the shop at least once a year because of the quality of gasoline clogging up the carburetor or tearing up the inners of the engine. So I went out and I bought a Ryobi push electric mower, 40-volt battery, and I mowed my lawn for a good 5 years with that thing. And I actually left it at my old house because we moved out to 2.5 acres where I needed something a little heftier. But, and the person who bought my old house was much appreciative of it because he didn't like to mess around with gasoline anymore either.
Yeah, right. And especially if, I don't know if everybody knows this, but depending on what device you're using, sometimes you have to mix the gasoline with oil, and that's a different proposition altogether. You're like a chemist out there using flammable products, combustible products. I never like mixing oil and gas for one of the devices. Charles, I'm curious. So in California, when they create this law, they're going to make it for both commercial mowers and private citizens, residential mowers. Do they even make large, zero-turn electric mowers?
They do. In fact, when I moved out to this 2.5 acres, it was one of the choices I had. I went with everything Ryobi, my chainsaw, my weed whacker, the whole works, all battery operated. And they have an 80-volt lithium-ion battery operated zero-turn mower. And I think Cub Cadet has one. And I mean, so all the manufacturers are moving in that direction. And I've seen a couple of commercial yard maintenance people driving the electric zero turns.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, they're a lot quieter, but I don't know how many batteries they have to carry on their truck to get yards done.
Yeah,
but it was the ethanol that was messing things up.
Right.
When you're using ethanol in all those small engines, you're going to pay for maintenance.
Yep.
That's just that simple.
Which is why you can also at Home Depot and Lowe's and others like that, Ace True Value, you can buy gasoline, 100% gasoline with no ethanol in it. I know it seems a little weird to go buy a gallon of gasoline at the Home Depot, but you can literally do that. And when I was using a gas-powered trimmer, That was exactly what I did. Is I bought my gasoline at Home Depot so that I wouldn't have to, go down to a gas station and find a gas station that had regular unleaded without ethanol in it, because the owner's manual for those small engines tells you don't use ethanol. Ethanol will clog up your engine and it's going to make it worse. You're supposed to use pure gasoline for those small engines like lawnmowers and weed whackers and stuff like that. I'm Joe Kelly. You can join me at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. Coming up next here on WDBO, Donald Trump is really leaning into his criticism of Ron DeSantis, and it's going to leave a lot of Floridians with some tough decisions to make. We'll break it all down for you coming up next. Stay with us.
Hey, Joe Kelly, this is Mark Farina from Houston, Texas. I'm hearing you on my phone in Houston. I've been working landscaping for 21 years in Orlando area, and you got to have power equipment to mow. Cut your grass. You have these large properties, you got to have power equipment.
Yeah, that's kind of my impression too. But after hearing everybody that has a electric powered mower, I'm delighted to hear that the electric power motors aren't as bad as they once were. That's for sure.
Hi, Joe. I just want to know how they get rid of bad batteries, the ones that are not good anymore.
That is a good question. I always count on you guys to bring good questions, and that's a great question because those batteries are going to be toxic, and it's just like the discussion about the Tesla batteries and the other EVs in that, not only do we have to find a way to get rid of those things to be able to properly dispose of them so that they're not bad for the environment, but we also have to find a way to create those batteries by coming up with the rare earths that one needs, those components, those minerals that you need to make electric batteries. Right now the latest is we're getting it out of Africa and parts of Asia, and there's literally children digging in the dirt for this. It doesn't seem very sustainable to me.
Get rid of gas-powered lawn equipment. How many businesses are going to go out of business because they can't afford to buy the upgraded battery-powered that? And multiple tool shows have seen electric lawnmowers, the ones you ride on for like acreage cuts, catch fire simultaneously for no reason. What's next? ATVs, off-road bikes?
Actually, yes, that's exactly what is, and I'm not even being sarcastic, that is what's next, is ATV and off-road bikes. You mentioned the things catching fire. If you go to WDBO.com and search for electric bus fire, you will see video of electric buses just spontaneously bursting into flames, exploding even. I know that in the UK, they have been experimenting with electric buses, and we've got multiple videos of those buses catching on fire. And that would be pretty much as scary a thing as I could possibly imagine. So Donald Trump today is again ramping up his rhetoric against Ron DeSantis and against anybody who might step in his way of getting back into the White House. Reading here from Florida Voice News, the former president touched on the Russia-Ukraine war, declaring he could foster a peace agreement within 24 hours. Donald Trump said, "From the night I won, I would call two people. You know who the two people are? Putin and Zelensky. And I'd say, we're going to meet. I would tell one guy's this, I'd tell one guy's this, and I would tell one guy that, and I would say, you better make a deal. We would have a deal within 24 hours. Now, I do believe that Donald Trump being in the White House had a lot to do with Vladimir Putin not invading Ukraine sooner, but I do not believe that if Donald Trump were to return to the White House, that somehow Donald Trump would magically be able to get Vladimir Putin to stop. Because there's no way in hell Ukraine and Zelensky is going to accept the loss of any of their territory. The only way for Ukraine to win is for Russia to lose. And you can't negotiate those terms. It's impossible. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. I think in this particular case, Donald Trump is just full of bravado and is being overly confident and considerably arrogant to think that he could stop this war in 24 hours. What do you think? 844-580-WDBO. By the way, did you guys happen to see that they're going to bring a lobster roll restaurant to downtown Orlando? Lobster rolls. Lobster rolls, really? Now, at least it's not another taco place or a pizza place. Heaven knows we have more than our fair share of taco and pizza places in downtown. But is there a real demand for lobster rolls? I mean, Laurel, have you ever even had a lobster roll?
I have. There's like that warehouse place right up the road from here, remember?
That's right. What's it called? Hang on. It's
And they have amazing lobster rolls.
Yeah. What is that name of that place? Oh, okay. So you've had a lobster roll.
I like them.
And they're good.
Plus, there's a food truck that always has lobster rolls that comes around often, and it's delicious.
What about Sophie and Randy? Have you guys ever had a lobster roll before? Do you even know what they are?
I have never, but I do know what it is.
Yeah. So it's like a hot dog bun, but it's got lobster in it. That's about it.
I've had one in New England.
Yeah, well, that's where the good ones are.
Fresh from the source.
And that's where I would expect lobster roll places to be, not downtown Orlando. That just seems so niche.
Maybe the lobsters are fresh from Lake Eola.
We're branching out. We're becoming diverse, and there's no issue.
Well, I do appreciate that. I'm very glad that it is not another taco place or a pizza place, because as I said, we've got far too many of the taco places and pizza places, and I may go get lobster roll, but that is about it. Donald Trump also bagging on Ron DeSantis again, and this is. I'm telling you, this is going to cause some problems if he continues to tear at Ron DeSantis, because Ron DeSantis is very popular, particularly here in Florida, and a lot of Floridians aren't going to put up with it. I mean, we either want Ron DeSantis to continue as our governor or to run for president and be our next president. We don't want Donald Trump sullying the name of Ron DeSantis, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. He called him Ron Sanctimonious today. This is Donald Trump talking. Ron Sanctimonious had a crowd in Staten Island, about 130 people in Staten Island. We got a lot of people here. I always say, hit your enemy a little bit early. So to even refer to Ron DeSantis as the enemy, to me is ignorant and ill-advised. Not that anybody advises Donald Trump on what to do, but calling Ron DeSantis, who might be one of the greatest Republicans in decades, but to call him the enemy is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I think that this time it's going to backfire on Donald Trump. What do you think? 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. Don't forget about the podcast. It's Behind the News with Joe Kelly. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on my Facebook page. You can find it on the WDBO Facebook page. You can find it in the WDBO app. You can find it in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. Look for Behind the News with Joe Kelly. If you're just joining us here on WDBO, we're talking about a variety of things, including Donald Trump's latest efforts at besmirching and smearing Ron DeSantis, which I think is going to run Donald Trump into some problems, particularly here in Florida, because a lot of us Floridians really like Ron DeSantis. Also, we're talking about California, which already outlawed gas-powered automobiles by the year 2035. They plan on outlawing gas-powered lawnmowers and what they call small off-road engines, or SOARs, which is gross. We've got SOARs. That's not right. Who snorted? Come on, people. So they're going to make them get rid of leaf blowers, garden tools that are gas-powered, all of that. They're going to have to get rid of that in California within weeks or months, it says, by the way. So they're going to phase out the cars by 2035, but they're not going to phase out the lawnmowers and garden implements. They're going to phase that out fast. Within months, that's going to be outlawed.
I've been listening with interest regarding California's decision to ban gas-powered garden tools, lawnmowers, etc. I just have one question. Where do they think electricity comes from? Does it come from some secret, completely pollution-free source that we don't know about? Because I don't think they have atomic energy out there or nuclear energy power plants.
I'm so glad you brought that up, and that is such a key component to any discussion about electric vehicles, because everybody who touts electric vehicles and everybody who drives electric vehicles, at least in my experience, they have a certain air of snootiness about them in that they're saving the environment while you and I are destroying the environment. But most of our power plants in America are coal-fired or natural gas-fired power plants. So our power plants are polluting as much as the cars are. And you mentioned that California doesn't have any nuclear power plants. They actually do. They had several at one point, but they've decommissioned all but one. They have one nuclear power plant with 2 reactors, and it's the Diablo Canyon power plant near San Luis Obispo. And they don't expect that they're ever going to shut that one down. It is, get this nuclear power plant, Diablo Canyon power plant in San Luis Obispo, is the state's only operational nuclear plant and the largest single power station in California. So their absolute best source of electricity is their nuclear power plant, their one last remaining nuclear power plant in California, and only one plant there makes electricity the clean way, if you will, with nuclear energy.
Hey, Joe, I don't know about, I don't have an electric mower, but I do have steel battery-powered trimmers and everything, and those things are wonderful, and they last a long time. They're very powerful. They're better than your off-the-shelf Home Depot Echo brand and everything, but steel products are really built tough for battery-operated use.
You know, I've lived in apartments for the last 4 years or so I've not done any yard work, and I was unaware. Because I had a steel, and steel, by the way, it's STIHL. That's the brand that you see, STIHL, but it's pronounced steel. And I had this steel brand gas-powered multi-tool garden implement that had the blower and the trimmer and the edger and everything, and I absolutely loved it. And yeah, I stopped buying the cheap ones, spent a little bit more money on a steel, and you're going to get your money's worth out of it because it's going to last you for years, if not a decade or more. My name is Joe Kelly. No matter how you're mowing, I hope your yard looks great.